It's a good AGam in Kansas morning. Good morning. Let's take a look and see what's coming up today. First, the U.S. Soybean Export Council sponsors a tour of Kansas for swine and poultry nutritionists and producers from Japan. Next, Tom Stiles with KDHE discusses water quality issues caused by blue-green algae. And Dr. Walt Fick shares information on how different types of pasture grasses will be affected by the recent wildfires. We'll end with a look at PPID, also known as equine Cushing's disease. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
So this short course is focused on swine nutrition and feed manufacturing. It's sponsored by the U.S. Soybean Export Council and is focused for Japanese swine nutritionists, and people that work in swine farms. So they go all the way from the growing reproductive stages, people that work there, and also on the feed side. So this is a part of a program that the Kansas Soybean Commission is helping funding to bring this group of people to learn all the different ways and how to make feed better, and also pretty much help them on all the technical side of things in terms of nutrition and what is out, the new stuff that is out there for on the swine side. With this group, it's not the same people, but under the USEC Japan office, we bring two groups a year, one for swine nutrition, one for poultry, also again funded by Kansas Soybean Commission. So this is the first one of the year. So pretty much what we organized the course is that we do one day feed manufacturing, second day we focus on swine nutrition, and then we do field trips. We always like to take them to a corn and soybean farm so they could see all the different techniques and how a farmer works in the United States.
We're really excited to have the tour here from Japan this morning. Give them kind of a taste of what we do here in Kansas on our farm. We farm about 5,000 acres, quite a bit bigger than what they're used to seeing where they're at. We did show them a little bit with our feed mill and our feed operation here. They sure enjoyed the cattle and seeing that, because I'm not for sure how many of them actually get to see the cattle. One of the big highlights, I guess, for them today was the tractor that's right behind me. They really gravitated around that, loved it. Everybody had to have their picture with it, so that was kind of cool to see that.
So we always try to visit Kansas Soybean Commission, so they learn about a checkoff program and also see the whole facility and how the administration works. And then we always take them to a commercial feed mill here in Kansas so they could see how swine feed is made from the commercial side of things. And then they end up always in Kansas City so they could fly out, but we take them to a commercial containerized sporting facility, which in this case is the long one that is here in south of Kansas City. So that's pretty much, we like to combine technical side plus field trips, and we also do hands-on activities in our Kansas State OH Cruz Feed Technology Center, which is our feed mill.
It's really important for us to, have that bond with those guys over there and give them a feel for what they're going to buy from us, and kind of maybe put a face with the product, even though it really won't be our products going to them. But they have an idea of the people and the backbone that goes to their products that they're seeing and what they're dealing with.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard. Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego is driven by the spirit of American ingenuity. Come in for a new Chevrolet car, truck, or SUV. If we don't have exactly what you want, we'll find it for you. And we also have a great selection of used cars. We make sure you have an easy, fun, and transparent sales experience that saves you time and money. But if you want high-pressure salesmen an hour spent in the finance office, you'll just have to go elsewhere. Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're making car buying great again.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
I'm Tom Stiles, Assistant Director, Bureau of Water at KDHE. Water quality is the name of our game, and we're given that Kansas is such a rural state, so heavily steeped in the agriculture economy, we're talking with farmers to find ways that we can work toward common goals of improving our water quality while recognizing they maintain a healthy bottom line with the investments they make on their landscapes. In the past 5 to 6 years, the blue-green algae or cyanobacteria have become much more prolific in many of our reservoirs and our lakes. We see them almost every summer now in over 20 of our lakes of all sizes. Probably our biggest problem area has been Milford Lake, where the blooms that have appeared each summer have been very persistent and extend well into the fall. They disrupt the recreation use of the lake. They hamper the ability of the price fishery there in the lake of being able to proliferate, and they impart problems to the drinking water that Milford helps supply along the Kansas River. But even more so, one other thing that's emerging is that these blooms, because of their nature in terms of how they look and how they smell, have impacted the quality of life of the communities along the lake, towns like Milford and certainly Wakefield that have suffered for at least for the last 2 summers because of the high density of the blooms that we've seen on the upper part of the lake. That has become a very powerful impact on our local communities that almost goes beyond just the classic sense of water quality, but affecting Kansas way of life as well. The best thing about the blue-green algae is it's pretty visible. It's not like anything you would typically see in the course of there. It looks like a paint, someone dumped paint on your pond, or it's a scum. Certainly there's smells associated with it. Sometimes they smell kind of almost like diesel-y in nature. When you're encountering that sort of thing, it's pretty simple to get a water sample, and the K-State vet school has been very, very good at quickly analyzing it and letting the landowner or the ag producer know, yeah, you've got blue-green there. If that's the case, move the cattle, livestock away from that as your water supply until well past that bloom has crashed out and maybe there's been a chance to flush some of those toxins out of there. But K-State has offered for a number of years now resources to help inform our ag producers in terms of the state of and quality of their livestock watering supplies. We have a very robust website that touches on the blue-green algae issue there. It tracks what lakes are currently afflicted by these blooms, as well as give background information in terms of what the blooms are, what their hazards and dangers are, what you should look for, and generally how to best deal with them, whether you're someone recreating in the lake or you're going to use the lake for livestock watering, etc. But there's a wealth of information there that can be found at the KDHE website.
It's time, the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo, April 5th, 6th, and 7th in Great Bend, Kansas. 700 booths filled over 80 acres of exhibits. Dale Brisby, the 6th and 7th at 1 o'clock, sponsored by American State Bank. Find all your livestock equipment needs, precision tillage equipment at the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo. Free admission, free parking. Corporate sponsors American Hat Company, Great Bend Co-op. Go to starexpos.net. That's April 5, 6, 7. You don't want to miss it.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
I'm Doug Shoup. I'm the Southeast Area Agronomist for Kansas State University. So I had the opportunity to share some information on cover crops that we've done in the state of Kansas, but specifically to soybeans as well. And so cover crops have become a new thing that producers are starting to incorporate into their crop rotations, and they serve a lot of benefits, from erosion control, so we can get some cover outgrowing there and stop some soil erosion. We can use cover crops in a livestock system as well for grazing. Also, producers have been fighting weed and herbicide-resistant weeds, and so cover crops have been a good tool to use for producers to help manage herbicide-resistant weeds as well. And really, it's an issue of where you're at in the state of Kansas. Sometimes cover crops can even be a detriment if you're in a water-limiting environment. Cover crops, like any plant, have a tendency to use water to produce its biomass, and if you're in some fallow situations out west, we've seen some negative yield results on wheat when cover crop was previously grown ahead of that wheat. It used that soil moisture that wheat crop could have used later in the season. Now, as you move from west to east and to areas that receive more rainfall, moisture is less of an issue. Producers have started to incorporate some cover crops into their system for herbicide resistant weed control, and it does a pretty good job. Essentially, what it boils down to is I don't care what cover crop you pick, but what our data has shown is that the more biomass you produce, the more residue that you put out on that ground, the more suppression you're going to get of these weeds as they try to emerge. And for the most part, we've had some tough luck in some of my studies with cover crops ahead of corn. We tend to plant corn early, and it's cooler and wetter, and corn tends to struggle in that environment. But for our soybeans, cover crops ahead of soybeans, we've had fairly neutral response, so we don't see at least any negative yield responses in our soybean plant cover crops. After corn, they get enough residue in the spring, and we plant beans in those in the spring. In some of the research on this corn-bean rotation with cover crops, we have taken several soil measurements as well. We haven't seen a whole lot of change in our biological components of the soil. We do see some changes in our nutrient profile, and some of these cover crops are bringing some of our phosphorus to the surface, and we're seeing some changes in our phosphorus levels among the different treatments. One of the things that cover crops do add is as an organic matter component, and so we tend to see a change in organic matter, but it's generally not a big change and not very significant in our studies.
It's time, the Great Bend Farm and Ranch Expo, April 5th through the 7th in Great Bend, Kansas. This is your regional expo held in the heart of Kansas. J.D. Wing Horse Clinician all 3 days, sponsored by T-Cross Ranch and Bobby Norris Realty. Bradford Cattle Dogs, Border Collie demos all 3 days. Live cattle, beer garden, 80 acres and 3 buildings of exhibits. Corporate sponsors American Hat Company, the Great Bend Co-op. Go to starexpos.net for more information. April 5, 6, 7.
I was in an accident where I fell off a roof. I don't know why I started to research stem cells, but I did. And I visited with the doctors. They were excellent. I had my neck done, my shoulders done, section of my back, my hips, my sacrum, my sciatica, and my tailbone. Now I am having better range of motion in my arms and my neck and my back. It was a long road to get there, but I'm so glad that I found them.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on AGam in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
We've got some previous history in the state of Kansas on fire, particularly on the heavier textured soils, and again about a mid-March time frame. And that particular year, there was a reduction in production that following year. I think over like 65% reduction in forage. And then, the second year maybe it's 39. So it took most of 2 to 3 years to recover on that type of soil. Again, those areas were dominated by short grasses, buffalo grass, blue grama, maybe a little western wheatgrass. The sandy soils are, like I say, more mixed prairie. You're going to have probably sand blue stem and little blue stem primarily. From what I've read in other areas that have dominated with sandy soils, they tend not to be harmed much by fire. This point in time, their growing points, the rhizome is below ground, so that, assuming we have some soil moisture and rain to get them growing again, I think they'll recover quite nicely. Still a little concerned, though, about little blue stem because it's a bunch grass, and, the growing point is more or less right there at the crown, right at the soil surface, so fire can do a little more damage to it. Although in this case, we may just have to wait and see again because these fires were moving very quickly. As these plants start their growing season, they're going to need that subsoil moisture at least to get started. Go back clear to like last November through the present time. I think some of those areas had maybe anywhere from 2 to 5 inches. There might be enough moisture to start, but a lot of things going to depend on subsequent moisture. Again, I think on those heavier soils situations, I would suspect some reduction in stocking rate may be necessary. And again, that can vary, maybe 25% or more. The first year might be something that'd be appropriate. The sandy soils, again, because it's a different plant community, it maybe is not hurt as much. At least I'm expecting they're going to recover quicker because of the type of grass species that are on them. If it's not recovering like we thought it might or should, then indeed we may need to cut back, do some destocking.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
So glad to be here. I'm here with Dr. Kirby Weaver from Behringer Ingelheim, and we've had a chance to meet before. It's great to see you, and we're going to be talking about a condition on horses that it takes a little bit of as far as diagnosing before you know exactly what you got. And we're talking about PPID.
Right.
Can you tell us what that is? Sure. And the other thing I want to touch on is how does it differ from Cushing's?
Right. Well, Cushing's disease was first described in humans over 100 years ago. PPID is just the most current and accurate name for equine Cushing's disease. So the pituitary we all have is a small pea-sized part right at the base of your brain. That's the hormone center for us and horses. And so in horses, they can get PPID, pituitary pars intermedia dysfunction. The pars intermedia is just a certain part of that pituitary gland. It can have abnormal cells that can cause a domino effect of those hormones.
So if they have PPID, they have Cushing's.
Correct.
Cushing's on that. What's some clinical signs that you should look at if me as a horse owner, because a lot of times they're not just standing right out there and catching you, am I correct?
Right. Some of the classic signs are long hair coat or not shedding out properly in the spring and summertime. You can have laminitis, you can have recurrent infections, increased urination and increased drinking. And then some of the subtle signs are decreased performance. They may be sweating abnormally. So those are some of the things people should look for. It's important to talk to your veterinarian if you notice any of those clinical signs. There are easy blood tests we can do, but your veterinarian can go off a presumptive diagnosis based off of those clinical signs we discussed. There's no cure, but you can manage the disease with Pergolide. That's the gold standard treatment. The only FDA-approved Pergolide is Percent.
Doc, here at the barn here in Silvertooth, we have a owner and her horse, Indy, and the horse has been diagnosed with PPID. Let's go out there and find out how she has played a major role in helping getting this horse diagnosed.
Let's do it.
Okay. We're here with Jane Stein, and she's got this lovely horse. Jane, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Tell us about this horse and all about it. It looks like he's your buddy.
He is my best friend. This is SMS Independence Bay, also known as Indy. He is a registered Morgan horse. He's 13 years old.
13 years old, and I tell you what, he's just been recently diagnosed with PPID.
Yes, about 2.5 months ago.
And you played a major role in helping getting him diagnosed.
Well, I don't know about that, but I did notice some things about him that led me to believe that maybe that's where we were headed.
Tell us about some of the things that you saw.
The first thing that I noticed was he had an abscess in his hoof, and it was very slow to resolve, which is unusual for him. And so that sort of sent a little flag to me to kind of keep an eye on that. And then the second thing that I noticed was he didn't seem to have as much stamina. He had a slight amount of loss of stamina when I would work him on the ground or ride him. And so that was another thing. And then the final thing was the length of the hair and the amount of hair that he got when he got his coat in the fall in November.
Jane, you know, you've done a great job as far as in helping the diagnosis on this, but you'll be the first to say it's a team effort.
It is, Ernie. One of the issues that I think is so important for people to understand is when you call the veterinarian and they come out and there is this diagnosis, you have a lot of concern, but you need to have faith in your veterinarian. You need to follow exactly what they're telling you to do. And it is a team effort with the veterinarian. And then the farrier care, you have to be on top of that, good dental care. And then also you have to monitor exercise very carefully and diet. They have to have a lot of exercise.
Doc, it seems like she got everything lined out. It has to make the job of a veterinarian easier when you got a horse owner that observant on symptoms like that.
Yeah, it's very important because as a veterinarian, I might only see their horse once or twice a year. So it's important for the horse owner to share those observations with their veterinarian, and we can help come to a diagnosis if need be, or at least rule it out or find out what's going on.
And the key word is he's just been recently diagnosed. So we're treating him right now, and he's getting some really positive results.
It sounds like he's doing well. He started on Pergolide treatment, and I think Jane is using Percent.
Yes. I am. And he gets that once a day, and he eats it right up. It's not a problem to give. It's very small.
Well, Indy looks like he's doing good. Now, what's really good for our viewers out there is you got a great website that you can send folks to find out more about this.
Absolutely. idppid.com. You can find a lot of information there.
Well, there's nothing great. I tell you, it's just great to see this horse doing well. You got big plans for him.
I do.
And getting along great, and that's what it's all about. It's about the journey and just doing a great job. Thank you, guys.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.